I just worked 3 months straight on an oil rig, missed my wife's birthday because she's been dead 2 years, and I'm finally pulling into the driveway of my $1.2 million mansion. There's a silver Lexus in my parking spot and some crazy woman in my silk bathrobe storming out screaming, "You can't park there, this is private property." Private property. My private property. The smell of her cheap vanilla candles hits me through my open front door, the same door I locked 3 months ago. I can hear the crunch of new white gravel under my work boots, gravel that used to be black asphalt. This isn't some random crazy person. This is Karen Whitmore, my HOA president, and she's been living in my house, sleeping in my bed, eating my food for 2 solid weeks, and now she's calling 911 on me. What would you do if you came home to find your HOA Karen had basically moved into your house? Tell me where you're watching from, because the revenge I got was absolutely beautiful. My name's Dex Callahan, I'm 52, and I've been working oil rigs in the Gulf for 15 years. It's good money, damn good money, but it means I'm gone 3 months, home 1 month, gone 3 months again. My wife Sarah used to joke that I was married to the ocean more than her. She wasn't wrong, but she never complained because that ocean bought us our dream house. 2 years ago, Sarah lost her battle with cancer. The life insurance payout, combined with our savings and her teacher's pension, gave me enough to buy something I never thought a roughneck from Louisiana could afford, a 4,200-square-foot Tudor mansion on Lake Serenity in Willowbrook Estates. The previous owner, some old guy named Henderson, died without kids, and the estate sale let me snag it for $750,000, about 40% under market value. Now, Willowbrook Estates isn't your typical neighborhood. It's 847 homes of mostly retired folks with more money than sense, paying $400 a month in HOA fees for the privilege of having someone tell them what color their mailbox can be. Most residents are pushing 70. I'm the youngest guy here by at least a decade, which immediately made me a target. Enter Karen Whitmore, 48 years old, HOA president for 8 years running, and a real estate agent who's bitter about everything. Karen lives in a smaller 1,800-square-foot colonial about 6 streets over, and from day one, she's resented my luck in getting the Henderson place. She's got 2 lackeys on the board: Meredith Bass, the treasurer who rubber stamps everything Karen wants, and Phyllis Crane, the secretary who takes minutes but apparently can't read them back. The harassment started immediately. First, it was a $500 fine for unauthorized dock repairs. I'd replaced some rotted boards on my boat dock. You know, basic maintenance to prevent someone from falling through and drowning. According to Karen, I should have submitted a formal application with architectural drawings for replacing rotted wood. Then came a $300 fine for my mailbox being non-compliant height. It was 2 inches too tall. 2 inches. I measured it myself with the same tape measure the HOA uses. The smell of fresh mulch from my neighbor's garden bed drifted over as I stood there with a ruler, thinking about how insane this was. The final straw before this whole mess was a $750 fine for parking my Toyota Tacoma in my own driveway. Karen classified it as a commercial vehicle because it had my company's magnetic signs on the doors. Never mind that half the guys in the neighborhood have contractor trucks, lawn service trailers, and medical transport vans. Those were all acceptable somehow. Here's the kicker: every single one of these fines was issued while I was offshore, with hearing dates scheduled during my rotations. Coincidence? About as much as a hurricane hitting Louisiana in August. My saving grace was my neighbor, Fletcher Grimm. Fletcher's 71, retired from the Postal Service, and he's got the sharp eyes of someone who spent 30 years watching people's mail habits. He'd been keeping an eye on my place during my rotations, just being neighborly. About a week into this last rotation, Fletcher started texting me that something weird was happening at my house. "Dex," his text read, "that HOA lady's been coming around your place every day. Today she brought suitcases." But I was 150 miles offshore in a dead zone, no cell signal for 5 days straight. By the time I got his messages, there were 12 of them, each one more concerned than the last. Equipment failure brought me home 4 days early. As I drove through the Willowbrook Estates gates, past the perfectly manicured landscaping and the community center where Karen holds court, I had no idea I was about to walk into a situation that would make every previous HOA fine look like pocket change. The crunch of that new white gravel under my truck tires should have been my first warning. That gravel used to be black asphalt. Someone had been making themselves very comfortable in my absence. Karen doesn't miss a beat when she sees me getting out of my truck. She marches right up to me, waving some official-looking papers like she's conducting an orchestra of crazy. "You cannot be here," she shouts, her voice carrying that particular pitch that makes dogs howl 3 counties over. "This property has been condemned as abandoned. I have full legal authority under HOA emergency powers to secure this residence." Abandoned? I literally made my mortgage payment 2 days ago from the rig's satellite internet. But Karen's got this whole performance planned out. She shows me what looks like an official notice of abandonment dated 3 weeks ago, complete with fake legal seals and everything. The paper even smells like fresh printer ink. She probably made this thing at Kinko's yesterday morning. "I know Sheriff Martinez personally," she continues, pulling out her phone with the confidence of someone who's never actually met Sheriff Martinez. "He'll have you arrested for trespassing if you don't leave immediately." That's when I lose it. Not screaming, lose it, but that cold, calculated anger that comes from 3 months of dealing with equipment failures, rough seas, and missing my wife's death anniversary because I'm trying to pay for the house she'll never get to enjoy. I pull out my phone and show her my banking app. Years ago, an old-timer on the rigs taught me to always keep digital proof of everything after his ex-wife tried to claim he'd abandoned their house during a deployment. Smart man. "See this? Mortgage payment. Auto-drafted 48 hours ago. See the balance? Current. See the address? This one." Her face goes through about 6 different expressions before settling on pure rage. But I'm already pushing past her toward my own front door, and that's when I see the real scope of what she's done. My living room has been completely rearranged. There's a different coffee table, some cheap particle board thing, instead of the solid oak piece Sarah picked out. Karen's makeup is scattered across my bathroom counter like she's running a damn Mary Kay convention. Her clothes are hanging in my walk-in closet next to Sarah's things, which I haven't had the heart to remove yet. The smell of her vanilla candles has replaced the subtle scent of Sarah's lavender sachets that still lingered in our bedroom. I'm taking photos and video of everything with my phone when Karen starts her next play. She locks herself in my master bedroom, and calls 911. "Help me, please," she wails loud enough for me to hear through the door. "There's an aggressive man who broke into my house. I'm an elderly woman alone and I'm terrified." Elderly? Lady's younger than me and probably bench presses more than I do after sitting at a desk selling houses all day. But she's playing the victim card like she's got a royal flush. 20 minutes later, Deputy Ryan Kowalski shows up. He's maybe 30, fresh-faced, and clearly believes that whoever calls first must be telling the truth. Karen emerges from my bedroom with crocodile tears and what she claims is a caretaker agreement with my signature on it. The signature's not bad, actually. She's probably been practicing from all those HOA violation notices she's been sending me. But here's where years of dealing with rig inspectors taught me something valuable. Documentation beats drama every time. I show him my driver's license with this address, my mortgage payment history on my phone, and even photos from my phone of me at this house with timestamps from before I left for the rig. Physical documents can be forged, but real-time banking data doesn't lie. But Karen's been planning this longer than I thought. She tries my key in the front door lock, and it doesn't work. She's changed the damn locks. "Security upgrade per HOA requirement," she announces smugly. "All residents were notified by email." I never got any email, but good luck proving that to a deputy who just wants this domestic dispute to go away so he can get back to writing speeding tickets. "Sir," Deputy Kowalski says in that tone cops use when they're trying to de-escalate, "maybe it's best if you find a hotel for tonight and sort this out in the morning through proper channels." Proper channels. Right. Like the HOA board meeting where Karen, Meredith, and Phyllis vote on everything behind closed doors, or the county clerk's office where Karen probably has friends from her real estate connections. As I'm standing there in my own driveway, locked out of my own house, watching Karen wave goodbye from my living room window, I realize something important. This isn't some spur-of-the-moment power trip. The changed locks, the fake caretaker agreement, the convenient timing while I'm offshore, this was planned. Karen didn't just stumble into squatting in my house. She engineered this whole thing. But here's her first mistake. The texture of the new lock mechanism feels different under my fingers as I turn my useless key one more time. Cheaper. Flimsier. She went with the $30 Home Depot special instead of the $150 deadbolt I'd installed. That tells me everything I need to know about how temporary she thinks this arrangement is going to be. As I drive away to find a motel room I shouldn't have to pay for, I'm already planning my next move. Karen might have won round one, but she just made one critical mistake. She underestimated a guy who spent 15 years solving problems 150 miles offshore with no backup plan. The next morning, I'm sitting in a Denny's at 6 a.m. drinking coffee that tastes like it was filtered through a gym sock, calling my lawyer buddy Marcus Webb. Marcus handles maritime law mostly, but he knows who to call for everything else. The syrup-sticky booth squeaks every time I shift, and I'm watching the sun come up over a parking lot instead of my own lake view. "Dex, you need Samantha Ridge," Marcus tells me. "She eats property law for breakfast and HOA disputes for dessert. But fair warning, she's expensive." Expensive beats homeless. An hour later, I'm in Samantha's office watching her flip through my HOA documents with the focused intensity of a bomb disposal expert. She's got that sharp lawyer-look gray suit, reading glasses that probably cost more than my truck payment, and a poker face that would make casino dealers weep. "This emergency powers clause is interesting," she says, which in lawyer speak means this is completely illegal but proving it will cost you. Someone added this in 2019, but the amendment process looks questionable. While Samantha's doing her legal deep dive, Karen's launching her counterattack. My phone starts buzzing with notifications. She's filed a restraining order against me, claiming I threatened violence and made her fear for her safety. The attached Ring doorbell footage shows me pushing past her, conveniently edited to remove the part where she's blocking the door to my own house. 2 hours later, I get served with papers. Karen's got witness statements from Meredith and Phyllis backing up her story. Of course she does. The temporary restraining order keeps me 100 yards from my house, my own damn house, while this gets sorted out. But here's where having good neighbors pays off. Fletcher Grimm calls me while I'm sitting in my truck outside the courthouse, feeling like I've been sucker punched by the entire legal system. "Dex, you need to know something," Fletcher says, his voice low like he's sharing state secrets. "I've been watching through my kitchen window. Karen's been having sleepovers for weeks. Saw her bringing suitcases, groceries, even a damn cat carrier. And yesterday she had some guy with a clipboard walking through your place taking pictures." A guy with a clipboard. That gets my attention real quick. I drive to Fletcher's house, which is thankfully more than 100 yards from mine, and he shows me his security footage. Fletcher's got one of those doorbell cameras pointed at the street, and it catches the side of my driveway perfectly. There's Karen, clear as day, bringing in suitcase after suitcase. The timestamps show she's been moving in for 2 weeks, not house-sitting like she claimed, but the real kicker is the footage from 3 days ago. Karen's walking some guy in a cheap suit around my property, pointing at the dock, the boathouse, even my outdoor kitchen. The guy's taking notes and photos like he's conducting an appraisal. "I heard her on the phone yesterday," Fletcher continues. "She was saying something about finally got the lake house I deserve and buyers are lined up." Buyers. She's not just squatting in my house, she's planning to sell it. I call Samantha immediately. "How fast can someone claim squatters' rights in this state?" "Adverse possession typically requires 7 years of continuous occupation," she says, but I can hear the concern in her voice. "But there are exceptions for abandoned property, and if she can establish 30 days of open occupation with utility transfers..." 30 days. I've been gone for 3 months, and Karen's been building her case for 2 weeks. She's got 22 days to make this permanent. That afternoon, I drive to First National Bank to confirm my mortgage is current. The loan officer, a nervous guy named Pete who looks like he's never seen the sun, pulls up my account and frowns. "Mr. Callahan, someone called last week asking about foreclosure timelines for this property. We told them the account was current, but they seemed very interested in the process." "Who called?" Pete checks his notes. "Karen Whitmore from Whitmore Realty. Said she was calling on behalf of a potential buyer interested in distressed properties." Distressed properties. My house isn't distressed, Karen is. But she's been busier than I thought. When I get back to my motel, there's a notice from the electric company. Someone requested an emergency utility transfer for my address, claiming the previous resident had died. The water company has a similar request pending. Even my garbage service got a call about updating the account holder information. Back in my oil rig days, we had a saying, "When the pressure builds, something's got to give." Karen's building pressure from all sides, legal, financial, bureaucratic. She's not just trying to steal my house, she's trying to erase me from it entirely. Every bill, every service, every official record that proves I live there is slowly being transferred to her name. The smell of industrial coffee and defeat fills my motel room as I spread out all the documents on the bed. Karen's playing a game I didn't even know existed, but she made one mistake. She assumed I'd roll over like the last guy she probably pulled this scam on. She's about to learn what happens when you mess with someone who's spent 15 years dealing with problems where failure isn't an option. While I'm trying to figure out how to legally get back into my own house, Karen's launching a full-scale media blitz that would make political campaign managers jealous. My phone starts lighting up with notifications from Facebook groups I didn't even know I was part of. Dangerous stranger alert. Willowbrook Estates, reads the first post, complete with a blurry photo of me talking to Deputy Kowalski. This aggressive oil worker has been harassing elderly residents and making inappropriate advances. Please share to keep our community safe. Inappropriate advances? The only thing inappropriate here is Karen wearing my wife's bathrobe. But within an hour, the post has 47 shares and comments like, "Why do they let these rough types buy houses here?" And, "Thank God we have Karen protecting us." The Nextdoor app is even worse. Someone, definitely Karen, has posted a detailed warning about me, claiming I made threatening gestures and used profanity-laced language around children. What children? The youngest person in this neighborhood is probably 55, but while Karen's busy destroying my reputation online, I'm doing some detective work of my own. Late that night, I drive over to the county assessor's office website and start digging into property records. You'd be amazed what's public information if you know where to look. Turns out Karen's pulled this stunt before. Not exactly the same, but close enough. 3 years ago, there was an elderly widower named Harold Avery who owned a waterfront condo in the next county over. Harold went to assisted living for 6 months while recovering from hip surgery. When he tried to come home, he found Karen had moved in as his caretaker and was in the process of having him declared mentally incompetent. Harold's family sued, but by then Karen had already listed the condo and collected a hefty deposit from buyers. The family won eventually, but Karen had conveniently moved out of state by the time criminal charges were filed. Amazing how she ended up here right after that case settled. The smell of stale cigarettes and desperation wafts through the motel window as I print out Harold Avery's court documents on the business center's ancient printer. This isn't Karen's first rodeo, it's her business model. But here's where having good neighbors like Fletcher pays off again. The next morning, he calls me with news that changes everything. "Dex, you're not going to believe this," Fletcher says, his voice shaking with either excitement or too much coffee. "I was talking to Gladys Morton from the Garden Club and she's been keeping a spreadsheet." A spreadsheet. God bless retired librarians. Gladys Morton turns out to be 82 years old, sharp as a tack, and madder than a wet cat about Karen's reign of terror. When I meet her at the community center, carefully staying 101 yards from my house, she opens a 3-ring binder that's thicker than a phone book. "I've been documenting every single improper fine, selective enforcement case, and suspicious expenditure for 3 years, Gladys announces, adjusting her reading glasses like she's about to deliver a doctoral thesis. Karen Whitmore has been running this HOA like her personal ATM. The spreadsheet is beautiful, color-coded, cross-referenced, with copies of every document. Gladys has tracked $127,000 in questionable expenses over the past 2 years. Invoices for community improvements that don't exist, payments to contractors who never showed up. My personal favorite, $8,000 for emergency tree removal that supposedly happened during a storm that never occurred. But here's the really interesting part, Gladys continues, flipping to a section marked Legal Issues. That Emergency Powers Amendment from 2019? I was at that meeting. There were only 12 people there, and the vote was supposed to be unanimous. But I voted no, and so did Fletcher and 3 other people. She shows me the official meeting minutes. According to Karen's secretary Phyllis, the amendment passed 47-0. But Gladys has photos from the meeting showing exactly 12 people in attendance, and she's got signed statements from 5 people who voted against it. The amendment is fraudulent, Gladys declares with the satisfaction of someone who's just solved a murder mystery. Karen's been using fake legal authority for 4 years. While I'm processing this bombshell, my phone rings. It's a number I don't recognize, but the caller ID says Santos Insurance Investigation. "Mr. Callahan, this is Michelle Santos from Consolidated Insurance. We need to discuss a claim filed on your property by Karen Whitmore. She's claiming $15,000 in stolen belongings while house sitting, but some of the photos she submitted show items that, well, they appear to still be in your house. Insurance fraud. Karen's not just squatting in my house and trying to sell it. She's filing insurance claims on my stuff and claiming I stole it from her. The audacity is almost impressive. Almost. But as I'm sitting in Fletcher's kitchen, looking through Gladys's evidence binder and listening to Michelle Santos explain how Karen's been collecting insurance payouts, I realize something important. Karen's not just a petty HOA tyrant. She's a full-scale con artist who's been using Willowbrook Estates as her personal piggy bank. And con artists make mistakes when they get greedy. Karen just made hers. The taste of Fletcher's surprisingly good coffee mixes with the satisfaction of finally understanding the game we're playing. Karen thought she was dealing with some dumb oil worker who'd roll over and play dead. She's about to find out what 15 years of offshore problem-solving actually looks like. 3 days later, Gladys calls me with the voice of someone who's just discovered buried treasure. "Dex, you need to get down to the community center storage room now." I find her in a dusty back room that smells like old paper and forgotten Christmas decorations, surrounded by banker's boxes and filing cabinets that look older than the neighborhood itself. She's holding a manila folder like it contains nuclear launch codes. "I was looking for the original HOA charter to compare with Karen's 2019 amendment," she explains, practically vibrating with excitement. "But I found something much better." She hands me a document dated 1987, the original Willowbrook Estates HOA bylaws. The paper is yellowed and the typewriter font screams Reagan administration, but the language is crystal clear. I flip to the section on emergency powers and my heart starts pounding. The original emergency powers clause only covers immediate physical threats to property such as fire, flood, or structural collapse. That's it. Nothing about abandonment, nothing about caretaker agreements, nothing about seizing properties because someone's late on their landscaping fees. "But look at this," Gladys continues, pulling out the 2019 amendment that supposedly expanded Karen's authority. The vote record shows 347 homeowners in favor, 0 opposed. But Dex, I have the neighborhood directory from 2019. There were only 289 occupied homes that year. The math hits me like a wrench to the skull. Karen didn't just forge a few signatures, she invented entire voters. She used addresses of vacant lots, houses under construction, even properties that had been demolished and rebuilt. "And here's the smoking gun," Gladys says, producing another folder. This one contains the actual sign-in sheets from the 2019 meeting, 12 signatures just like she remembered. But the official vote tally that Phyllis filed with the county claims 347 attendees. I'm staring at documented proof that Karen's entire legal authority is based on a fraudulent vote when Gladys drops the real bombshell. I found the original meeting minutes too. Phyllis's handwritten notes show the amendment failed 8-4. Karen literally filed the opposite result with the county clerk. My phone starts ringing while I'm processing this. It's Michelle Santos from the insurance company, and she sounds like she's had way too much coffee. "Mr. Callahan, we've completed our investigation into Ms. Whitmore's claim. The photos she submitted as proof of her stolen belongings, they're screenshots from your own home security system. She's claiming your property is hers and filing theft claims when she can't find it." It gets better. Karen's been running this scam for months. She files renters' insurance claims wherever she's house-sitting, takes photos of the homeowner's stuff, then claims it was stolen when they return. She's collected over $40,000 in fraudulent payouts from 3 different insurance companies. But here's the interesting part, Michelle continues. Her policy application lists her address as your house. She's been claiming she lives there for 6 months, not 2 weeks. 6 months. Karen's been planning this heist since before I left for my last rotation. While I was working 100-hour weeks on a drilling platform, she was meticulously planning to steal my entire life. Fletcher's security footage confirms it. Going back through 6 months of recordings, we find Karen doing inspections of my property, taking measurements, even bringing contractors by for estimates. One video shows her testing my spare key from the fake rock by the front door, the same key she later used to break in. But the final piece of the puzzle comes from the most unexpected source. Phyllis Crane, Karen's loyal secretary, shows up at Fletcher's house looking like she hasn't slept in days. "I can't do this anymore," she announces, collapsing into Fletcher's kitchen chair. Karen's been blackmailing me for 2 years. She found out about my grandson's drug arrest and threatened to post it on Facebook unless I rubber-stamped her fake meeting minutes. Phyllis pulls out a box of documents, the real meeting minutes, the actual vote tallies, even recordings she made on her phone of Karen coaching her on how to lie to auditors. "There's more," Phyllis whispers, looking around like Karen might burst through the door any second. She's been stealing from the reserve fund. Those community improvement invoices, half of them are for work that was never done. The other half are from her boyfriend's construction company, and they just cashed the checks and split the money. The reserve fund. I remember those $400 monthly HOA fees every homeowner pays, times 847 houses, times however many years Karen's been running this operation. We're not talking about petty theft anymore. We're talking about a six-figure embezzlement scheme disguised as HOA management. And Karen made one critical mistake. She got so greedy trying to steal my house that she exposed her entire operation. That evening, Fletcher's kitchen looks like a war room. We've got documents spread across every surface, laptops humming, and enough coffee brewing to fuel a small army. The team assembled around his breakfast table would make any military strategist proud. Me, Samantha the shark lawyer, Gladys with her encyclopedic knowledge of HOA corruption, Fletcher with 6 months of surveillance footage, and Phyllis looking like she's about to throw up from guilt and relief. Marcus Webb joins us by speakerphone from his maritime law office, because apparently Karen's fraud scheme has more moving parts than a cargo ship engine. "All right, people," Samantha announces, spreading out a legal pad covered in what looks like football plays. "We're going to hit Karen from 3 directions simultaneously: legal, financial, and public exposure. She's been playing chess while everyone else plays checkers, but she made one mistake. She documented everything." Phase 1 is legal warfare. Samantha's filing an emergency injunction tomorrow morning to get me back in my house. But that's just the opening move. Criminal charges are coming for breaking and entering, fraud, identity theft, and embezzlement. The beauty is that Karen's own paperwork proves most of our case. Every fake signature she forged, every fraudulent vote she recorded, every insurance claim she filed, it's all documentary evidence, Samantha explains, tapping her pen against the table. Criminals who keep detailed records make prosecutors very happy. Phase 2 is financial destruction. We're bringing in a forensic accountant to trace every penny of the missing HOA funds. But here's the clever part. Gladys remembers that homeowners can demand a complete financial audit under state sunshine laws. It's a little-known rule that most HOA boards pray no one ever discovers. Any resident can force them to open their books with a simple written request. I learned about this when my late husband was fighting City Hall over water billing discrepancies, Gladys explains, pulling out another folder. Government entities, including HOAs, must provide full financial transparency to stakeholders within 30 days of request. We're not just requesting an audit, we're demanding 7 years of records, including invoices, bank statements, and board meeting recordings. Karen's about to learn what real transparency looks like. Phase 3 is public exposure, and this is where things get interesting. Remember Michelle Santos from the insurance company? Turns out she's married to Rebecca Santos, the investigative reporter at Channel 7. Small world gets smaller when you're dealing with fraud that affects hundreds of families. Rebecca's been looking for a story about HOA corruption, and Karen just handed her a Pulitzer Prize winner on a silver platter. The story angle isn't just about me getting my house back, it's about a predatory scheme targeting vulnerable homeowners across 3 counties. But while we're planning Karen's downfall, we need to protect ourselves. Fletcher's installing additional security cameras, all legally positioned on his property but with perfect sight lines to mine. Everything Karen does from now on gets recorded in high definition. Phyllis provides the inside intelligence. She's going to keep attending board meetings, keep taking minutes, but now she's working for us. Every conversation, every scheme, every desperate move Karen makes gets documented and passed along. There's something else, Phyllis adds nervously. Karen's planning an emergency board meeting for this Friday. She wants to vote on permanently seizing your house and selling it to cover unpaid fines. The buyer she's lined up is paying cash way below market value. A fire sale. Karen's accelerating her timeline because she knows the walls are closing in. But that emergency meeting is going to be her undoing because Gladys has been doing her homework. Under the original 1987 bylaws, emergency meetings require 72 hours notice to all residents, Gladys announces with the satisfaction of a cat who's caught a particularly fat mouse. Karen's been scheduling these meetings with 12 hours notice because she knows most people can't attend on short notice. We're going to flood that meeting with residents. Not just the usual suspects who always show up, but everyone who's been screwed over by Karen's fake fines, selective enforcement, and property seizures. Gladys has been quietly organizing a phone tree for months, and Friday's meeting is going to look like a town hall revival.
The best part? Karen doesn't know we have Phyllis on the inside, doesn't know about the forensic audit request, and definitely doesn't know about the Channel 7 investigation. She thinks she's still playing against some confused oil worker who doesn't understand HOA procedures. She's about to discover that the confused oil worker has lawyers, accountants, investigative reporters, and a neighborhood full of people who are tired of being bullied by a petty tyrant with a clipboard and a god complex. The smell of Fletcher's industrial-strength coffee mingles with the satisfaction of a plan coming together. Karen spent 4 years thinking she's untouchable because she controls the narrative. Friday morning, she's going to learn what happens when the narrative changes hands. Karen must have sensed something was up because Wednesday morning she goes full nuclear. I'm sitting in my motel room planning my day when my phone explodes with notifications. She's listed my house for sale on Zillow, Realtor.com, and something called QuickCashHomesForYou.net at $200,000 below market value. The listing description makes my blood boil. Estate sale, motivated seller relocating immediately, cash offers preferred, property sold as is, perfect for investors. There are photos of my living room, my kitchen, even my master bedroom, all taken while she's been squatting there. But Karen's not done. By noon, she's scheduled an open house for Sunday afternoon. "Bring your checkbook," the listing screams. "First qualified offer takes it." The smell of desperation is practically wafting through my phone screen. But Karen's panic move just handed us evidence of intent to commit real estate fraud on a silver platter. I call Samantha immediately. Can she actually do this? Absolutely not, Samantha laughs with the cold satisfaction of a shark smelling blood. Listing someone else's property for sale without authority is a felony. She just upgraded from misdemeanor trespassing to major fraud charges. But while I'm celebrating this legal victory, Karen's launching a sabotage campaign that would make terrorists jealous. Thursday at 3 a.m., Fletcher's security cameras catch 3 figures sneaking around my boat dock. They're cutting my mooring lines, puncturing my boat hull with what looks like a screwdriver, and spray painting "Trespasser" across my boathouse in bright red letters. The footage is crystal clear, Karen directing 2 guys who look like they've never seen a boat dock in their lives. One of them trips over a cleat and nearly falls into the lake. The other one is holding the spray paint can upside down for the first 10 minutes. "Amateur hour," Fletcher mutters, watching the footage for the 3rd time. "But that's $15,000 in damage to your boat." Thursday afternoon brings a new escalation. Deputy Kowalski shows up at my motel with another warrant, claiming I violated the restraining order by stalking Karen at the grocery store. According to her complaint, I followed her through Publix, making threatening gestures with a wrench from the automotive aisle. There's just one problem. I was at Samantha's office all afternoon Wednesday, and I've got time-stamped photos of me signing legal documents to prove it. Plus, the grocery store security footage shows Karen shopping alone, talking to herself in aisle 7 like she's rehearsing for a community theater audition. "Sir, I have to ask," Deputy Kowalski says, looking increasingly uncomfortable with this whole situation. "Do you own any wrenches?" I show him my truck's toolbox. Standard socket set, tire iron, jumper cables, nothing that looks like what Karen described. Plus, why would I threaten someone with a wrench I bought at the grocery store? The whole story falls apart faster than Karen's credibility. But Karen's desperation reaches new heights Friday morning when my private investigator Raquel Torres calls with disturbing news. "Your HOA president tried to bribe a sheriff's deputy," Raquel announces without preamble. "She offered Kowalski $5,000 cash to arrest you on trumped-up drug possession charges. Attempted bribery of a law enforcement officer." Karen just added another felony to her growing collection. But the beautiful part is that Kowalski reported it immediately. Turns out he's not as naive as he looks, and he's been suspicious of Karen's stories since the grocery store incident. "She met him at the Denny's on Highway 9, Raquel continues. Slid an envelope across the table like she was in some bad spy movie. Kowalski was wearing a wire because his supervisor told him to document everything after the 3rd obviously fake complaint. We've got Karen on audio offering to pay a cop to frame me. If this was a movie, people would complain it was too unbelievable.
But while Karen's digging her legal grave deeper, she's also doubling down on the HOA power play. That emergency board meeting she scheduled, she's moved it up to Friday at 4 p.m., claiming immediate action required to protect community assets. Phyllis texts me the agenda. Vote to permanently transfer abandoned property at 847 Lakefront Drive to HOA control for debt recovery. She's planning to steal my house with a fake vote from her fake board using her fake authority. The meeting notice went out to exactly 12 residents, Karen's usual suspects who never ask questions and always vote yes. But Gladys has been busy with her phone tree, and word is spreading faster than gossip at a church potluck. By Friday afternoon, Fletcher's doorbell camera shows cars pulling up to the community center like it's election day. Residents I've never seen before are walking in carrying folders and looking like they mean business. Karen's about to learn what happens when you try to run a scam in a neighborhood full of retired people who finally have something interesting to do. The texture of anticipation is thick enough to cut with a knife as I sit in Fletcher's living room, watching the community center fill up through his telescopic lens. Karen thinks she's calling an emergency meeting. She's actually calling her own execution. Friday morning, Karen makes her most desperate move yet. While I'm drinking coffee at Fletcher's kitchen table and watching her house through binoculars, she comes stumbling out at 6 a.m. with a notary stamp and what looks like legal documents. Where the hell did she get a notary stamp? I ask Fletcher, who's been tracking Karen's movements like she's a migrating bird. Community center office, he replies grimly. Gladys mentioned they keep one there for HOA paperwork. Karen must have swiped it yesterday. By 8 a.m., we know what she's up to. Raquel Torres calls from the county recorder's office, where she's been monitoring for any last-minute filings. She just tried to file a quit-claim deed transferring your house to herself, Raquel reports. Claimed you signed it over to settle HOA debts. The signature's not bad, but the notary seal is a problem. What kind of problem? The stolen one expired in 2019. She's been notarizing documents with an invalid stamp for 4 years. That's when I realized Karen's entire house of cards is built on expired credentials, forged signatures, and bureaucratic laziness. But she's not done yet. At 10 a.m., she shows up at my house with 3 men in cheap suits carrying clipboards and measuring tapes. Fletcher's cameras catch the whole thing. Karen's giving them a tour like she's hosting HGTV, pointing out features, discussing renovation potential, even opening my wine cellar to show off the collection. The guys are taking notes and photos, but something's off about the whole scene. Those aren't real estate investors, Gladys observes, studying the footage with the analytical eye of someone who's spent 40 years librarian detecting bullshit. Look at their shoes. Real investors wear comfortable walking shoes for property inspections. These guys are wearing dress shoes that have never seen dirt. She's right. And when Raquel runs their license plates, the picture becomes clearer. Money launderers, she reports. All 3 have connections to construction companies that exist only on paper. They're not buying your house. They're helping Karen wash stolen HOA funds through a fake real estate transaction. But Karen's panic is creating mistakes faster than we can document them. At 2 p.m., she calls the fire department reporting suspicious smoke from my property, claiming I'm burning documents to hide evidence. The fire crew shows up to find nothing but the barbecue coals Fletcher was using to grill lunch. Ma'am, this is your 4th false alarm this month, Fire Chief Rodriguez tells Karen in a voice that suggests his patients died somewhere around false alarm number 2. We're going to have to start issuing citations. While Karen's busy crying wolf to every emergency service in the county, the community center is filling up for her 4 p.m. emergency meeting. But this isn't the usual crowd of 12 sleepy retirees who nod along with whatever Karen says. Cars are streaming into the parking lot like it's Black Friday at Best Buy. Gladys's phone tree worked better than anyone imagined. Residents who haven't been to an HOA meeting in years are showing up with printed emails, documented fines, and the kind of righteous anger that only comes from being screwed over by someone with a clipboard and a power complex. There's got to be 200 people out there, Fletcher observes, watching through his telescope. I don't think the community center even holds that many. He's right. By 3:30, there are people standing in the parking lot because the building is at capacity. Someone's brought folding chairs from their garage. Another resident set up a PA system so everyone can hear what's happening inside. This isn't an HOA meeting anymore. It's a town hall uprising. But Karen's not backing down. At 3:45, she arrives with Meredith and what looks like a security guard. Except when I zoom in with Fletcher's telescope, I recognize the security guard as the process server who's been trying to deliver subpoenas to Karen all week. She hired the guy who's supposed to arrest her to be her bodyguard. I laugh, because at this point Karen's decision-making has crossed from criminal into performance art. Inside the community center, Phyllis is texting me updates that read like war dispatches. Karen trying to start meeting, crowd demanding financial records, someone brought a bullhorn, Gladys has taken over the podium. At 3:58, Rebecca Santos from Channel 7 pulls up with a news van and a camera crew. Karen's little emergency meeting is about to become the lead story on the evening news. But the real surprise comes at 3:59, when Sheriff Martinez arrives with FBI agent Jennifer Walsh from the Financial Crimes Unit. They're not here as backup security for the meeting, they're here with arrest warrants. Karen's standing at the front of a room packed with angry homeowners, facing a news camera and federal agents, still clutching her fake notary stamp and fraudulent quitclaim deed. She spent 4 years thinking she was the smartest person in every room. She's about to discover what the dumbest person in the room looks like. The community center hasn't been this packed since the great mailbox color controversy of 2018. 200 angry homeowners are crammed into a space designed for 50, with overflow crowds watching through windows and the parking lot PA system broadcasting every word to the cars outside. Karen walks in at exactly 4 p.m., wearing a navy blazer and the kind of forced smile politicians use when they're about to lose elections. She's carrying a manila folder thick enough to choke a horse, and that stolen notary stamp like it's some kind of magic wand that'll make her problems disappear. This emergency session will now come to order, she announces, banging a gavel that belongs to the community center, not the HOA. The sound echoes through the packed room like a gunshot. That's when Gladys Morton stands up with a megaphone that could wake the dead in 3 counties. Point of order! Gladys's voice booms through the room with the authority of someone who's spent 40 years making teenagers shut up in library study halls. Under the original 1987 HOA bylaws, this meeting is invalid due to insufficient notice and lack of proper quorum procedures. The crowd erupts like a football stadium after a touchdown. People are shouting, "Show us the books," and "Where's our money?" and "Audit the finances." Karen's trying to maintain control with her little gavel, but she's conducting an orchestra of rage with a toothpick. "Ladies and gentlemen," Karen squeaks, her voice cracking under pressure, "we're here to address the abandoned property situation at 847 Lakefront Drive." "That's my house," I shout from the back, and suddenly 200 heads turn toward me like sunflowers following the sun. The crowd parts as I walk toward the front, and I can smell Karen's desperation mixed with the community center's industrial carpet cleaner. Samantha follows behind me carrying a laptop connected to a portable projector. Within seconds, the wall behind Karen is showing the fraudulent 2019 amendment vote, with the fake signatures highlighted in bright yellow. "This document shows 347 residents voting in favor," Samantha announces to the crowd, her lawyer voice cutting through the noise like a scalpel. "But the neighborhood directory from 2019 shows only 289 occupied homes. Karen Whitmore has been operating under fraudulent authority for 4 years. Karen's face goes through more color changes than a mood ring in a microwave. That's a misunderstanding of the filing procedures." "Ma'am," Sheriff Martinez's voice cuts through her stuttering like a knife through butter. He's standing near the door with FBI agent Walsh, both looking like they'd rather be anywhere else but dealing with suburban HOA drama. "We have warrants for your arrest on charges of fraud, embezzlement, breaking and entering, and attempted bribery of a law enforcement officer." The room goes silent except for the sound of Rebecca Santos's camera crew getting perfect footage of Karen's meltdown. This is going to be the lead story on every local news station for a week. "This is a conspiracy!" Karen screams, her composure finally cracking like an egg dropped on concrete. "These people are jealous of my leadership. That oil worker seduced elderly residents to turn them against me." Seduced elderly residents? Gladys Morton, all 82 years of her, stands up with the dignity of someone who's seen enough nonsense for 10 lifetimes. "Karen Whitmore, I've been documenting your crimes for 3 years, she announces, holding up that beautiful evidence binder. "You've stolen $127,000 from our community fund, filed fraudulent insurance claims, and tried to sell this man's house while he was working to support himself after his wife died." The crowd's anger shifts into something deeper, the kind of righteous fury that topples governments and burns down corrupt systems. Someone starts clapping, then everyone's clapping, then they're on their feet giving Gladys a standing ovation that probably registers on seismographs. Karen tries to run, actually tries to push through the crowd toward the back door like she's escaping a burning building. But there's nowhere to go. 200 angry homeowners aren't exactly stepping aside to let her pass. Sheriff Martinez doesn't even have to chase her. The crowd just parts around him as he walks over to where Karen's cowering behind an overturned folding chair. "Karen Whitmore, you're under arrest," he says, and the clicking sound of handcuffs echoes through the community center like the final note of a symphony. "This isn't over," Karen shrieks as they lead her toward the door. "I'll sue every one of you. I have connections. I know people." That's when Fletcher Grimm, sweet 71-year-old retired postal worker Fletcher, delivers the line that'll get quoted in newspapers for months. "The only people you're gonna know now are your cellmates, Karen." The place explodes. People are cheering, taking pictures, hugging each other like we just liberated France. Rebecca Santos is interviewing residents who are lining up to share their Karen horror stories on camera. And me? I'm finally walking toward my own front door with my own keys, past the crowd of neighbors who spent 4 years thinking they had to put up with a tyrant because she had a clipboard and an attitude. 3 months later, I'm sitting on my own dock at sunset, drinking a beer that tastes like freedom and watching the gentle waves lap against the pilings I repaired without asking anyone's permission. The smell of honest barbecue smoke drifts over from Fletcher's grill, where he's cooking burgers for half the neighborhood. The texture of my original teak patio furniture feels solid under my hands furniture. That's finally back where it belongs after Karen's cheap replacements got hauled away with the rest of her stolen life. The legal aftermath was swift and beautiful. Karen got sentenced to 3 years in prison with 5 years probation, plus $847,000 in restitution that she'll be paying until she's collecting Social Security in an orange jumpsuit. Her real estate license got permanently revoked, and she's banned from serving on any HOA board for life. The judge called her crimes a systematic betrayal of community trust and suggested other neighborhoods use her mugshot as a warning poster. The financial recovery exceeded everyone's wildest dreams. Insurance covered the $23,000 in damage to my property, while asset seizure recovered every penny of stolen HOA funds plus interest. Karen's house sold at sheriff's auction for twice what she owed on it, and every dime went to victim restitution. The reserve account is now so healthy we've reduced monthly dues by 30% and still have enough left over to install a community swimming pool. But the real victory is watching our neighborhood transform from Karen's personal kingdom into an actual community. Our new HOA board, led by President Fletcher and Treasurer Gladys, implemented what residents now call the Fletcher Rules: total financial transparency, recorded meetings, and zero tolerance for power-tripping clipboard warriors. I used part of my lawsuit settlement to establish the Fletcher Grimm Neighborhood Watch Foundation, providing security cameras and legal assistance to elderly residents facing HOA abuse nationwide. We've already helped homeowners in 37 communities document corruption and send their own Karens to prison where they belong. The foundation runs workshops teaching residents their rights under HOA law. Most people don't know they can demand financial audits, challenge fraudulent votes, or file criminal charges against corrupt board members. Once you know the rules, bullies lose their power real fast. Personally, life has never been sweeter. I've reduced my offshore rotations to 2 months away, 2 months home. Rebecca Santos and I are dating. Turns out the reporter who exposed Karen's crimes is as beautiful as she is brilliant. She's teaching me that some journalists actually fight for justice instead of just chasing clicks. The ripple effects keep spreading like wildfire. Rebecca's investigative series won 3 journalism awards and triggered HOA reform legislation in 4 states. A Netflix documentary crew spent 2 weeks here filming what they're calling the David versus Goliath story that started a revolution. We established an annual Good Neighbor Day festival at Lake Serenity that's become the biggest community event in county history. Last year, we raised $50,000 for elder care and home maintenance assistance. This year, we're expecting over 2,000 attendees from neighboring towns who want to learn how we took our community back from a tyrant. The best part? Karen's former house now serves as our community resource center, offering free legal advice and HOA education. Every day, residents walk past the place where our neighborhood dictator used to live, now converted into a symbol of community power over individual corruption. Yesterday, I got a letter from a homeowner in Arizona whose HOA president was pulling the exact same scam. They used our documentation as a template, got their Karen arrested, and recovered $200,000 in stolen funds. Justice is contagious when good people refuse to stay quiet. As I watch tonight's sunset paint Lake Serenity gold, I can hear the sounds of a healthy neighborhood kids playing, neighbors laughing, the gentle splash of evening fishing. No clipboards, no fake fines, no power-drunk tyrants making life miserable for hard-working families. Karen's wearing prison stripes and sharing a cell with someone named Bertha, but HOA corruption is everywhere. Every neighborhood has their own version of the story waiting to be told. Drop your own HOA horror story in the comments. I read every single one, and the best ones might become our next episode. And if you enjoyed watching Justice catch up with a clipboard-carrying tyrant, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell for Karen's Stories, where we prove that bullies always get what's coming to them. Next week, HOA Karen fined me $10,000 for parking in my own driveway, so I had her arrested for extortion. Remember, Karens count on you staying quiet. Don't stay quiet.